Okay, how's it going, everybody? So we're going to we're going to read some Frederick Engels today. This was written for the Northern Star. This is news from France. Was written in 1844. Let's go ahead and get into this. The Northern Star. This is from the Northern Star, number 344, June 15th, 1844, with an editorial note from our own correspondent. Let's go ahead and get into this. There's been a serious turnout of colliers at Rive de Gier, near Lyons. I'm not sure if that's Lyons or Lyons. For wages and other grievances. This affair offered upon the whole the same features as the English strikes. Processions with banners, meetings, molesting of knobsticks, etc. The strike lasted about 6 weeks. Several of the men were imprisoned for conspiracy, though no serious disturbance appears to have occurred. At last, the men are reported to have returned to their pits, though it is not stated whether the object of the strike was accomplished. Republican demonstration. The following account of the gathering of the Republican forces upon the occasion of the funeral of the deceased, M. Lafitte, from the pen of the correspondent of the Weekly Dispatch will be found interesting, as showing the great strength of the Republicans in Paris and the certainty of a speedy revolution in that country. Quote, although no disturbance occurred at the funeral of the celebrated Jacques Lafitte on the May 30th, 1844, the Republican Party nevertheless made a powerful demonstration of its strength. 5,000 students belonging to the schools of law and medicine assembled to do honor to a man whose life, with one fatal exception, had been devoted to the cause of political liberty. For that one heir, viz., conferring the crown upon Louis Philippe, he partially atoned in the Chamber of Deputies by imploring pardon of God and of man for the grievous injury he had been instrumental in inflicting upon France and the civilized world. The 5,000 students who followed him to his last home are all staunch Republican spirits, all glowing for political liberty. These noble-minded young men, together with the military students of the polytechnic schools, are the hope of young France. Let them eradicate from their breasts that absurd animosity towards England, which would lead them to plunge into war, for the mere purpose of settling the question of national rivalry over again. Let them learn to respect their island ally as a power advancing with them hand in hand in the road of civilization. And those young men, the rising generation whom the conservative press of both nations affect to despise, will one day be called upon to decide the destinies of France. The Revolution of 1830. Military students of 16 and 18 years of age became the generals of the people in that dreadful struggle with the royal troops. At the death of Louis Philippe, the Republicans will no doubt proclaim their principles to be those alone adapted to France and French interests, and the young students of Paris must cooperate with and advise the people in the political arena, as readily and faithfully as they led them on to victory 14 years ago. But the demonstration of Republican strength on the occasion of the funeral of M. Lafitte was not confined to the law and medical students. The secret societies were not idle. The members of those formidable political combinations assembled in immense numbers. They are for the most part respectable tradesmen, mechanics, and artisans, and are by no means the despicable rabble and low character which the Times and the Journal des Débats have on various occasions represented them to be. They formed a column 4 deep and marched immediately in front of the students. A third section of the Republican Party also followed Lafitte to the cemetery of Père-Lachaise. This was composed of operatives, all neatly attired, respectable in appearance, and exemplary in behavior. The Friends of Liberty, therefore, mustered strong upon this occasion. Indeed, it is absurd for the conservative press to deny the fact that the numerical strength and the moral influences of the French Republican Party are immense, ranking amongst its numbers some of the most exalted names in France, names respectively famous in the spheres of war, literature, art, science, and policy, gaining strength daily by the acquisition of those whom the tyranny of the king alienates from the Orleans cause, and professing principles which accord with the new interests and new wants of civilization. The Republican Party is the one to which all eyes will be turned the moment any unforeseen accident or natural occurrence disturbs the reign of the Orleans dynasty. End quote. The Holy War, the Emperor of Morocco, Rahman II, has declared a holy war. Okay, so this is a different section here. This is the Holy War. The Holy War. The Emperor of Morocco, Rahman II has declared a holy war against France and Frenchmen and is rousing the various people and tribes within the contiguous to his dominions to arms in defense of the one faith and for the extermination of the infidels. Abd el-Kader, the African Wallace, is the leader of this national enterprise for the overthrow and expulsion of the French conquerors. The latest accounts represent the advanced section of the Moorish army as being within sight of the French forces. From accounts received from Constantine, it appears that the Duke d'Aumale has met with some reverses, which seem to have been the result of his own imprudence and want of experience. It will be seen from the subjoined extracts that a small body of troops left in charge of Biskra has been surprised, the French garrison killed, and the whole of the baggage, ammunition, and stores carried away by the natives. A Toulon letter of the 3rd says, quote, "We have received most afflicting news from the province of Constantine, dated the 20th ULT. The Duke, dated the 20th Ult. I'm not sure what that stands for. The Duke d'Aumale had left at Biskra a very small garrison composed only of Lieutenant Petigan, Commandant Sub-Lieutenant Crotchard, and Aide Surgeon Major Arcelin, with about 40 men, from the battalion of the Constantine Fusiliers. The small corps was intended to form the nucleus of a new battalion, to be raised from among the tribes, the environs of Biskra. Of all these, only a sergeant major, named Police, escaped. The new recruits opened the gates of the Kasbah during the night to Mohammed Sagir, the Caliph of Aid el-Kader, and his followers, who surprised our men in their sleep and killed them all. Plunder became general, and 70,000 FR left with the commandant to pay his men. And all the cannon, muskets, ammunition, and other stores were carried off. This unfortunate affair is said to have encouraged the surrounding tribes to take up arms. The fatal news having reached the prince, Duke d'Aumale, while in the mountains of the Alud Sultan, he instantly marched to Biskra with the column of 3,000 men. He arrived on the 18th, but the Caliph had left on the preceding day. The 3rd Battalion of the African Light Infantry marched from Constantine to the 24th for Biskra to form its garrison." End quote. On Friday, the Chamber of Deputies voted by a majority of 190 to 53, a sum of 7,500,000 F, to defray the expense of increasing the present military force of France and Algeria 96,000 by 15,000 more, thus raising the number of bayonets in Algeria to 11,000. Okay. So yeah, that's news from France by Frederick Engels, written for the Northern Star. So thank y'all for tuning in. That was 1844, June 15th, 1844. Yeah, and thank y'all for tuning in. If y'all want to follow me online, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Medium, Tumblr, all of these, hit me up. Marxist Saw. Hit me up there, and y'all have a great day. And Dodadagoy.